So today I want to talk to you about something that I worked on this January. We're talking about a systems approach to winter sports injury prevention. So obviously, as a trainer and a coach, we always want to make sure that you are physically well prepared for the time when you're going out and you go skiing or snowboarding. However, since I'm an aging athlete myself, there is more to this than just you being physically prepared. It's also important that you have the right kind of gear to go out. And so I went out on a weekend to field test on the East Coast, which is known for classic freeze and thaw conditions. Because let's be really honest, while I would like to go out west, I don't have the money to do so. So I'm here on the East Coast doing this. What I tested there is the ergonomics of the bindings, the traction of the board, and impact mitigation. Right? So originally I'm a skier, I'm a pretty experienced skier, so I picked up snowboarding here on the East Coast several years ago, but I only go out maybe once or twice a year to go snowboarding, so the learning curve is stretched out. Getting back into it is always a fun time because you've forgotten a lot of it. When I started out, I started working with the traditional binding that is pretty common nowadays. You sit down always every time you get off the ski lift, your ass gets down, like I'm bending over, fiddle around, and bend over and get my boot in and then stand up and rock and roll, which that works. But if somebody has lumbar disc issues, then that could potentially be problematic because you do that easily 20, 30 times. Now we have already seen that people can bend over multiple times without having any issues. However, in some cases it can be problematic, especially if you are predisposed to having issues there. For that regard, I tested the Bend Metal Supermatic drop-in system. So that's also a mouthful. And I set it up. You can see it on my blog. You can see pictures. It is a phenomenal system. I have to say, really liked it. There is a learning curve. So the advantage of it is you don't really have to sit down in order to get your foot into the bindings. You literally just clip in just like with skis. One of the issues that you can have is obviously if you're standing on the hill in order to clip in, there's a learning curve. So just like with anything, you have to find the way on how to best wedge the board in and then step in, clip in, push down. And that can really help you down the road. So the biomechanical payoff was undeniable after I learned how to use that system properly. So one of the things that I found there is that the board that I got was a board that was designed with the icy conditions of the East Coast in mind. It bit harder into the ice. I had less slippage, which means less falling, which made a huge difference regarding the injury risk that you have simply from the fall that is going to potentially happen, especially if you're not able to go out on a constant basis and have a high level of practice. Falling on a snowboard is pretty common, and I think there's definitely a case for a prophylactic armor. So for me, it means like padding in the rear to protect my sacrum. I have padding in around the knees, as well as padding on the wrist. That is also something that, as an aging athlete, the cool factor might not be there. I get it, but you know what? The going home and being able to go to work the next day factor is worth it for me. So helmet, wrist guards, hip pads, and knee pads, I think are all crucial in order to have as safe of an experience as possible. So in the end, the bindings preserve the lower back here in this case. The board preserves me from falling as often, and the armor mitigates the damage when the fall happens. And I say intentionally here, when the fall happens and not if the fall happens, because let's face it, depending on how long the day is, chances are high that at some point you're going to fall. So in order to go out and be the safest possible, make sure you're physically well conditioned. You have the endurance, the stamina, the strength necessary for your sport. You have the coordination and the balance necessary. And then you have the proper gear for you to be out there and do what you want to do and have a great time doing it. Take care.